our job as marketers and innovators and storytellers and whatever you consider yourself to treat everything around you like it's black and white television. It's our job to create color TV.
Welcome to another episode of Picking Brains, and this is going to be a very good one. What I try to do on this show is pick the brains of influential and inspiring people, and today I have a very, very special guest, and that guest is Quentin Allums, also better known as justQ. I've naturally met you through LinkedIn, as you're one of the biggest LinkedIn influencers out there, where your content has been viewed over 10 million times. Not only that, you're the CEO of Misadventures, which focuses on video storytelling, events, stuff like that. And if that's not enough, you're also a TEDx speaker. You have your own Urban Misfit Show podcast, and I'm sure there's a lot of other things that I didn't mention. But I just want to really thank you for taking the time to do this, man. And I know you're doing a lot of things, but I do want to for the first question, rewind it back. Tell me a bit more of your background story. How did it all start, and how did you reach this point?
No, dude, for sure. First off, thank you for having me, dude. I'm excited. This is long overdue, so I'm excited to be talking to you.
Absolutely.
Just in terms of how I got started. I guess I was a musician. Maybe that's not necessarily the beginning, but I was a musician. And that's when I really learned how to brand myself. That's when I learned how to put myself out there and really started making money with something that I was good at and something that I was passionate about. Fast forward a few years, I got into marketing. I started working for some tech startups, and I realized that I loved that space, but declined working for them full time out of college and launched my own thing. Struggled for a very long time. My first startup tanked in the VR space. My second agency just did not make money for a very long time until the tail end, where I started taking off on LinkedIn and really just dove deep into storytelling, got back to my roots. But I realized regardless if I was being successful, regardless if I started making money, I was bored. And the reason I got into entrepreneurship in the first place was so that I could do something that I loved, do something I was passionate about, and do it with people that I wanted to be around. So launch what I'm doing now, and it's been a crazy ride, but I think it all started with that musician and creative side of me.
So why did you feel that a musician's career is not enough for you? What made you go into the tech space, VR space, trying to do your own thing like that?
At the end of the day, it wasn't for me. I think to be successful in something, you have to love the problems associated with that thing. And for me, the rock star lifestyle, the singer-songwriter lifestyle, I didn't like that. I wasn't willing to work countless hours to be a rock star because I didn't love that lifestyle. But entrepreneurship, dude, and being able to hire another person and be in control, not in control, but help them live a better life and help them grow. That's what I like. I love the attention, I love making people feel things with what I create. But at the end of the day, music is not my thing. It was just an outlet for me.
Talking about attention, I mean, you are, whether you want it or not, you're one of the biggest influencers on LinkedIn to this day. I'm just very curious to know two things. Do you remember how you became a LinkedIn influencer and whether that was something you were aspiring to do?
Yeah, I remember very vividly. So I had recorded over 500 videos on literally every platform imaginable, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Ask Whale, which you probably never heard of, literally every platform, over 500 videos. And then at the end of 2017, mid 2017, one of my mentors introduced me to a guy named Josh Fetcher, who transformed LinkedIn and started this poetry and storytelling and all these different things. And I got the chance to meet him. And the first thing he told me was unfollow him. Because it's our job as marketers and innovators and storytellers and whatever you consider yourself to treat everything around you like it's black and white television. It's our job to create color TV. So I unfollowed him and I just started creating and pushing things out and being myself and telling stories because that's what I was good at. And 30,000 views, 40,000, 100,000, a million, and I just kept growing from there. I would be lying if I said it was something that I didn't aspire to be. because it was something that I aspired to be, and it's always been something that I've aspired to be. I think real influence, it's not that I wanted the money or anything like that, but real influence is being able to inspire someone to take action. And that's what I've always wanted to do, whether that was through music or through my writing. I want to inspire people to get off their ass and actually go do something. So yes, but that was the start of that in terms of LinkedIn.
Yeah. So it did come from quite a personal, natural space. Like you didn't want to sort of build it, but you build it sort of for the right reasons. There's a lot of sort of personal branding overall because of people like you, Gary Vaynerchuk, and so on. It's becoming a thing that I think a lot of people want to do, but because of what they see, they want to start their journey with comparing what you, for example, have built already, comparing the start to your middle, right? If that makes sense. So what would you advise somebody that's looking to start a personal brand and sort of, what to focus on?
I could become a millionaire at 23, right? And then die at 50. But someone could become a billionaire at 51 and then live to be 100, right? So it's pointless to compare like other people's journeys. And there's a lot of things that you don't see. Like there were times where I would cry on weeks because like, fuck, like my life sucked. There were times where I didn't eat for weeks because my life sucked. So like comparing it's just pointless because you're never ever going to get the full picture. In terms of where to start, I would say just figure out, okay, where do you want to go maybe in a year, or like what's your end goal or whatever that is to you, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and map out what you want your life to look like. And then just figure out step one. Whatever that step one is, it will lead to step two. Don't worry about all the middle things because you're going to get bogged down by that. Just what is step one? And then focus from there on controlling good habits that are going to allow you to get to that end goal. For me, it was, okay, I'm going to shoot a video every single day for 365 days. That was it. I just focused on building that habit. That led to, okay, now I'm going to edit and shoot. Okay, now I'm going to edit, shoot, and go meet people. And I just kept building good habits. And that allowed me to get to where I am now. So I would say, end goal, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And then what's step one? And then build good habits around that. But in terms of personal branding, like it's really just starting and getting on that step one.
And a big part of personal branding nowadays, at least, is still video, right? So you're going to be very visible to a big audience potentially. Do you think that your sort of the way you talk, what you wear and stuff like that sort of matters when you build your personal brand? Because you became very recognizable now. You use the word MISFIT, you have your hat, you have your dog, everybody knows sort of what kind of things represent Q. Do you think that's important to sort of set out as goals beforehand?
I call them brand anchors. So the Vulcan salute, I always do. Like the black heart, I typically wear, like for the most part, all black, my hat, things like that. And then I have all these characters in my life. So my founders, my co-founders, my dog, things like that. They're brand anchors. People, like, you think of that thing, that hat, you think of me. They're things that I've tied my brand into. Something that I like to say is a lot of people like to force brand anchors. A lot of people think that, I need to have blue hair so I stand out. I need to have a big hat so I stand out. But it's okay. And for me, I did the same thing. It's okay. And you should let your ship sail before you figure out that anchor, because you're going to tie yourself into something. It doesn't matter. What really matters is that authenticity, right? Like Gary Vaynerchuk, he doesn't have a brand anchor, but then it's like, okay, hustle. You think of hustle, but it came after. It wasn't immediately. He built his brand first. So I would say, don't even worry about that stuff. Just let it happen. You don't need one, but it does help. I was a sociology student, so I love, like, okay, I know this is going to tie into this. This is going to work here. So that's just how I work, but it's not absolutely necessary.
So talking about, I'm going to pick one thing that I think is quite significant from one of your, let's say, branding items, right? So the word MISFIT, you're using it in your company, you're using it to describe your beliefs. So I'm really curious what that word personally to you means.
So I've always been a misfit. I think, like, for the first 18 years of my life, I didn't really talk. I mean, I talked, but right, I didn't really have any friends. I was always writing in the back, like poetry and songs and things like that. I didn't really find myself till I was like 21, 22. And even now, like, LinkedIn, the reason I took off was because I didn't look like everybody else. I was weird and I was just telling stories. Now, like I go into a meeting, we're about to close a big deal. Shit, where's the CEO? Fuck, it's the guy with a hat on. Like, what's going on? Like, I've always been a misfit. But the word to me, like, of course, it's got the negative connotation. But for me, like, fuck the negative connotation. I'm going to own it. And it's just someone that's willing to go against the grain and do whatever it takes to get to where they want to go, despite all of the limitations. So that's what it means to me. But I've always been that misfit, and owning it allowed me to get to where I am.
Do you feel like you're changing what that words mean now? Because you just told me, that when you were always a misfit, right? And that means being sort of more in the background, not talking to people and stuff like that. Now, when you use misfit, everybody knows you, everybody talks about you, and it's a defining sort of word for even your company's brand. And your company is nothing like that. It's nothing behind the scenes. It's very out there. So is that something you want to do, is change the sort of how people perceive a misfit?
Yeah, I want there to stop. I want expectations and expectations to just be like thrown out the window, dude. Like people, like I want everybody to know that it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter where you're born. It doesn't matter like any of those things. Like if you want to do something, you can. Literally, things are the way they are only because enough people have agreed that they are that way. That's a quote from a book called Trader, which I read like sixth grade, but like only because enough people have agreed that they are that way. So we can do anything that we want regardless of limitations, regardless of race or socioeconomic class or anything like that. So yes, it's something that I want to go after because it doesn't matter, dude. Like we're all human, literally.
No, I completely agree with you, man. So what drives you? Where do you draw your inspiration from every single day? Because especially putting out so much content and having a creative company like that, inspiration needs to be at the very top.
I don't think inspiration has ever been an issue for me, at least in what I'm doing now. I was just talking about this. There's a lot of things that drive me in terms of where I get like my inspiration though, like just the people that are on my team, the people that are around me. That's like hardcore number one for me because like our culture is everything. And like, I just feel so good every day walking to the office. Feel so good like knowing that the people around me are so much better at what they do than what I would do in that area. Like it's just fucking inspiring. Also being able to build something that other people can like live off of. It's just amazing to me. But the people around me, another thing, like just literally everything, dude. Like I was a sociology student. Like I read all the time, podcasts all the time, like video games, like stories are everywhere. And I just take that and try to apply it back into what I'm doing now. In terms of what drives me though, I would say like legacy and impact. And I want a real impact. I don't want to be just another rich guy. I don't just want to be another storyteller, another writer. I want real impact in being able to, again, inspire those people to take action.
That's awesome, man. So going to now your current business, Urban Misadventures, how did that happen? When and why did you sort of make that decision, especially after failing in previous businesses? Sort of what made you go into that?
So one of my co-founders, I was actually college roommates with. That's Izzy. And I think when I started in my first agency, I remember telling him like, dude, like one of my goals is to just hire you because I know we'd work so well together. He went the corporate route. I went the entrepreneur route. Failed a bunch of times, clearly. But within that, again, like I didn't want to be bored. I wanted to do it with people that I wanted to build with and I wanted to grow with. So I launched this agency, but within that, I did launch a thing called Milwaukee Misfits. I was just going to travel the world and tell stories. But within that, my team fell apart and I just didn't have time to do that anymore. Company started going really, really well right after that because I took up on LinkedIn. But again, I realized that I was bored. I met this guy, another one of our founders, Eric, who's just like crazy on Twitter. And I'm like, dude, like you should get on LinkedIn. I told so many people to get on LinkedIn at this point, and most of them fell off. He recorded a video every day for like 90 days, which is incredible. I hadn't even done that at that point. So I'm like, damn, like
that is impressive.
And then like fast forward like a few months, I'm like, it is, dude. He's a beast. Fast forward a few months, and like I'm like, dude, like, do you want to do this? He said, hell yeah. Quit his job. Like a month later, met Brema. He quit his job, brought back in Izzy, my old college roommate, and then we just went after this. And I don't think any of us expected it to grow and be where it is this quickly. But it was an idea that I had, but it morphed into just something completely different once I brought these other people in.
I think it all comes down to everybody being really passionate about what you're doing and really being bought in and sort of to the vision that you've got, isn't it? So from what you've told, sort of your recent venture, so with Urban MISFIT Ventures, when you got the team together, it does seem like on paper, it seems like everything's going very, very well. And everybody's happy and everybody's committed and want to do this. You're going very, very fast, which is amazing. But what has been the biggest challenge for you so far in building that business?
Besides getting people to pay on time, biggest challenge, dude, I would say one is talent. Milwaukee specifically, but just really everywhere in the world. It's hard to find talent and people that fit your culture. I would say that's been a very, very hard thing for us, but also we'd like to take our time. I don't care if like we need to leave a position vacant for fucking a year if we have to. I want the right people. So that's been a big thing. Also, we don't know what we're doing in areas that we don't know what we're doing. So we've tried to position really, really good people around us. We're building a board of advisors now, but just not knowing and making mistakes where we don't have to, charging less than we should, like just not knowing certain things. That's definitely been like something that's kept us back from moving even faster. Outside of that, dude, I would say just stress, man. This is my third company. This is everybody else's first. But this is my first that's actually been successful. So I've never been through this and it's fucking stressful at times. I'm really, really good at managing that stress, but what stresses me out is seeing people around me stressed out. So just managing that. And then again, not knowing what we're doing and getting people to pay on time is always stressful.
Yeah, I think that's an issue that everybody has that provides any type of service ever. I know what that's like. I actually made a video recently about it, didn't I?
Maybe I should do that. Then maybe they'll pay time.
I mean, it's your third business. You failed in two businesses. Is that you said that you chose the entrepreneurial route, but did you always envision that you want to have a business even when you were growing up?
Not even once. I just knew that I didn't want to work for somebody. I knew that like my dream as a kid was to be in New York City, maybe in a dope ass like mansion with a bunch of like, not even mansion, a dope like house with a bunch of other writers and entrepreneurs and creative people. Have the top floor, the attic, and just right overlooking the city. That was my dream as a kid. And then eventually I found tech, but I never thought I would have my own company. So it's really, really weird to me that I can't imagine doing anything else. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are like, yeah, I've always sold things. I've always done this. And actually I did. Like I had businesses in video games, but to me, it was just me having fun, right? Yeah. So no, I never imagined myself being an entrepreneur, having a business, because I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to sell. I hated talking to people. I just like writing.
So do you believe that entrepreneurs are born or made? Because that's quite 50-50 in what people say about it.
Yeah. To me, I think 1000% I create myself. I think we all create ourselves. I think that's it, dude. Like, I think, of course, like there's circumstances and things happen that are going to nurture you and position you to be more likely to be that entrepreneur. But I don't think we're born. I don't think it works that way. And that's just my personal belief. But that to me, that's stupid. That takes away my control, and I like control.
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you. I think that we can create whenever and whatever we want to be. Whether you start early, whether you start late, I think you can become absolutely anybody you want. And I think this is where we're very aligned in that mindset as well. But talking about entrepreneurship, that word has become so overused. It's such a popular thing right now. It feels like everybody's glamorizing it and it's being perceived that it's quite easy to do. What would you tell somebody that wants to start a business and become an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah. It is over romanticized. And like, to me, like I thought I was an entrepreneur before, but I don't think you're really an entrepreneur until you understand what it's like to worry about your employees and paying them. I don't think you understand. I don't think you're an entrepreneur until like it just freelancer, entrepreneur, business owner. I think it's all entwined and like we go through similar things, but like this shit, like, it's hard, man. Like, it's stressful, and that's kind of what I would want to tell people. But also, like, I don't want to tell them anything, because like you just have to go through it. And I think, like, for me, when I dove into entrepreneurship, if I knew what I know now, like, I wouldn't have done it, because I didn't eat for weeks, dude. Like, I didn't have any money for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And my life was just absolutely atrocious. But I knew I couldn't go back, because if I went back, then my life would be shitty. And if I could just get through this shit, then okay, maybe I'll grow, maybe I'll be able to be successful. So I would say just dive into your obliviousness. Dive into your obliviousness. Yeah, that's the correct word. And just go and figure it out, because like that's what an entrepreneur does, man. We figure it out, we solve problems, and we learn along the way. So I wouldn't say anything, just go do it.
Do you think sort of having a difficult background, or sort of a difficult upbringing, or being in a shit situation, like saying, I'm being on the street for a bit, or struggling to pay rent, or whatever it may be, do you think that's something that's needed to become successful in business later on? Because that's a pattern that I notice quite often in business owners.
Yeah. No, I don't. But I do think it helps. Just the way our brain works, we are more likely to remember, and we put more value on painful experiences than we do on happy experiences. You asked me about my childhood, regardless if it was good, which it was okay, but regardless if it was good, like I would probably bring up, oh yeah, my dad left when I was this age. Oh yeah, I was homeless here, right? It's those experiences that I remember. I'm not going to bring up, yeah, my mom was an amazing mother, like she blah, 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 blah. It's not the happy ones. So I would say yes, those painful and shitty circumstances, like they shape us tremendously. So I would say that's why it is more than likely it is a pattern, but I don't think it's necessary. I just sat down with Nick Kirchner, who's literally like, he's a 21-year-old beast. Like he works with Ty Lopez, and like all these like huge people, like drives a Maserati, his license plate says Dropout. It's freaking amazing. Like incredible dude. Like I know there's been some painful experiences that have shaped him, but he's 21 and he doesn't need to struggle, right? He just, okay, this is what everybody else is doing. Okay, here's what I can do. Let's go fucking do it. So I don't think you need to.
So the thing is that I think because we both did have sort of backgrounds where it was difficult at the time, what it does give is perspective, for one, and two, you're less afraid to fail because you've been there already and you survived. So it's kind of like, what's the worst that can happen if I survive that? So I think that's the edge that you get. So I agree with it that it's not necessary, but yeah, it definitely helps. And now I know that you're very heavily into comic books, tech, and esports as well, like gaming overall, right? You're both a fan and somebody that's sort of, takes that up. Is that something that you're looking to incorporate into what you're doing going forward? Or is that just going to be more of a hobby?
For me personally, I'm not really good with hobbies. I like to make money with everything. But yeah, so my company, we're doing some work with like the NBA 2K League right now. Or we were actually. And then we are going to hyper focus on like esports organization just in terms of a storytelling standpoint. Ultimately though, like company wise now, no, but one of my major goals is to own or invest in an esports organization. I'd like to accomplish that within the next 2 to 5 years. And I will accomplish that within the next 2 to 5 years, but that will be a separate entity. I don't think that's going to be under Urban Misadventures, but professionally, yes, that's something that I want to get back into. We are moving like a bit into fashion as well, and more so like augmented. Like we'll do like regular fashion, but like also I'm using it as an avenue to test some things with augmented reality. So I love technology, and it's where I want to be. I also understand I need to make money. So yeah.
Well, with your fashion sense, the hat and everything, you do need to go into fashion. I think that's that's something you can't avoid, man. Coming back to esports, though, I think obviously it's big in Asia. It's very big in the US. What do you think sort of the future holds of esports? There's more attention going to it. There's more money going into it. People are more aware of it. But where do you see esports going?
I used to talk about esports like 2-3 years ago with my roommate, and Like a lot of people would say like, why would I sit down and watch someone play a game for an hour? But if you think about it, we're already doing that. I was a collegiate athlete. Like I love basketball, I love track and field, I love sports, right? But like we're already sitting down and watching people play a game, shooting a basket, going through a hoop, going through a net, right? That's a game. And people are making millions of dollars playing a game. That same thing is already being applied to people that are typing on a keyboard, people that are clicking a mouse. And for me in the future, like you compare basketball, which again, I love, it's amazing, but you compare that to, okay, think of the Hunger Games. You put on a VR headset, fully immersive. You have an omnidirectional treadmill that lets you run everywhere and it just follows you, right? You're not actually moving, but it feels like you're moving. You have something that allows you to smell. You have a haptic feedback suit that lets you feel, shit, I just got shot. Shit, like wind's coming. Like you feel all these different things and you're playing the Hunger Games. You compare that to running a 55-meter dash. Hunger Games is going to win every single time. And right now, esports is already there. The cash pools for these tournaments are ridiculous. The amount of money that Ninja makes just fucking streaming is fucking ridiculous. So it's not even like, okay, like video games are the future. Video games are the now. It's just, okay, when competitively, when will that actually happen? Like just like on that same stage as sports. But to me, like professional sports, it's going to have to compete with esports because that to me is the future. I love sports.
So you feel it comes down to basically immersiveness and hence VR for it to take it to the next level.
Like imagine like back in the day, like gladiators, right? Like Coliseum. Imagine like you're standing in like I think you're a Celtics fan. You're standing in the arena, right? And there's 2 people or like 10 people on the court. And like they don't actually have swords. It's just like digital, augmented reality. Yeah. Everybody's watching these people fight. Like shit like that. It doesn't have to be VR, but I think it comes down to entertainment. Like what's actually entertaining? What do people actually want? And what's in demand? So that to me, like it's exciting and it's new and it's invigorating. That every single time is going to overpower just traditional sports because again, who's interested? And kids right now, Fortnite, Call of Duty, League of Legends, that's what's interesting.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think esports has a great upside, and the more people realize that, sort of the better it will be for that industry. There's still quite a bit of pushback because of the reasons you said, but I do feel like esports is going to be a big thing. So I'm really excited for the future and actually what you're going to be doing in that space as well. We went backwards a bit, with your story and everything. Going forward, what sort of, I imagine you thought about that quite a bit. What do you want your legacy to be?
Just thinking about this and just talking about this, I think there's a lot of things that go in that for me. I would say one, though, did I make an impact and what was that impact? I don't know what that is. And I don't want to lock myself into something. But 2, I just want to be remembered as someone that was just relentless in every aspect of his life. It didn't matter what was against him. It didn't matter like what limitations, barriers, obstacles, like he was just relentless and he did what he said he was going to do. And that's it for me. But I don't want to lock myself into something because I think it's limited based off the beliefs and reality that I'm living now. And future's freaking exciting. So we'll see, but relentless and just, I made an actual impact.
Really awesome. Very, very last thing. I'm not going to sort of steal too much of your time. Just where can people find you? I know it's LinkedIn as well, but where else can people find you? How can they get in touch with you, consume your content, join your groups? What's the best place?
Yeah, so you can search, I'm pretty much everywhere, just tag justQ. Otherwise, like LinkedIn's probably going to be the best place just to get like that consistent business side of the content. But I'm active on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, literally everywhere, YouTube. And then I forgot what you just asked me. About all of those platforms, tag justQ. If you want to get in contact with me, probably shoot me a message on any of those. You asked me something else. I forgot.
Yeah. I know you're releasing a podcast club as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. My groups. Yeah. Podcast club is live on Facebook. Biz and Influence Podcast Club, if you search that, and then House of Misfits group I have as well, and just a bunch of people just supporting one another. But those are the two groups that I have right now, and they've been awesome.
So if you're listening to this or watching this or whatever, make sure you check that out. Whatever Q's touches somehow turns into something pretty awesome. So I'm sure this podcast club is going to be awesome as well. So I just really wanted to thank you for your time, man. I really, really wanted to chat with you, and it was an absolute pleasure. You're my very first kind of remote interview, but I just knew I had to get you on and pick your brain, and I'm very happy that we did. You inspire a lot, and I mean a lot of people through your content and just documenting your journey, being transparent, being open, and just being Q, basically. And that includes myself. You know, you've inspired me. You gave me the drive when I needed it as well. So I really appreciate everything that you do. And I wish you just nothing but the best and everything you do in the future, man.
It means the world, man. And right back at you, dude. Like, keep crushing it. And I'm always here, dude, if you need anything. But like, you're a freaking beast, dude. You inspire me. So thank you for having me on.
Awesome, man. All right. You take care now.
Peace.
Peace.